do. He asked for sidetrack. Events leading up to this tragic case. Pat Best and Gregory Best are Jeremy's parents. They are educators from Illinois who have worked in the Park Service for many years. Jeremy was born on December 16th, 1974 in Chicago, Illinois, to two young teenagers who decided to give him up for adoption. They had named him, at the time, Kenneth James. The birth parents considered marriage but decided against it. They both felt strongly that they did not have the means to support a child at the time. Kenneth was formally adopted by Patricia and Gregory Best on September 8th, 1975. He is the first child adopted by the Best family, who will later also adopt a daughter, Melissa. The state of Illinois issues original birth certificates upon request. This is his original birth certificate. The state then issues a new birth certificate with the adoptive parents' names upon it. And also a certificate of adoption is issued, and this is issued on the 8th of September, 1975. Jeremy was adopted through an organization called The Cradle. These are their records. And a note in the records indicates that his birth mother found it difficult to make the decision to give him up for adoption because she spent several days with him as she recuperated in the hospital. Eventually, both parents signed the documents for relinquishment. Jeremy's mother, Pat Best, kept a baby book or birth book for him, and in this book there are indications that He experienced illnesses as a child. He had ear tubes placed, he had asthma, and had other injuries and illnesses, including pneumonia and asthma. Jeremy attended schools in St. Charles, Illinois, and it was apparent from the very beginning of his life with his adoptive parents that he suffered from ADHD. His school records indicate this, as well as the fact that he had asthma. And as a result of his ADHD, he was placed on Ritalin, and he stayed on Ritalin throughout his school years. And there were often many communications between the school and the parents indicating that there were issues with either the medicine or his behavior as a person who suffered from ADHD. Also in his school records is an indication of an early head injury during a swimming practice, and that the Ritalin medication continues through 1991. He also had mono, and as I previously stated, he had pneumonia. Michael Attella is a friend of Jeremy's parents, and he has given us a video statement.
My name is Michael Attella, and I live in Illinois. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist. I have a PhD from University of Chicago, and a lot of continuing education from some really good places. And I've worked for more than 50 years as a psychologist, mainly doing clinical work, and that's also a lot of management consulting too. Clinical work, individual and family therapy, marital therapy. I also am a psychologist who takes an in-depth approach, at the same time a holistic approach, allowing people, as positive psychology says, to bring in their faith and bring in their emotions and bring in their intelligence and bring in their physical reactions as well, to get understanding of the whole person. Well, they're our best friends. Greg has passed away, but I went to kindergarten with him, and even the first semester of kindergarten, we were in the same class, and even went to college together. I didn't go to high school with him. I went to Lutheran North High School, and my wife went to high school with him, and then we met Pat when he married her. He was about 20 or so, 22 or 3, something like that. And we just stayed friends. And we know them best of any of our friends, and they know us best. And we know and love them all, Jeremy and Missy, or So for many years, in fact, we knew Jeremy since he was adopted when he was, I think, about 2 or 3 months old. So one time, in fact, when he lived in near the Driggs area in Wyoming, and so he had some trouble with the car. We were coming, getting ready to drive out there, and we did a FaceTime with him, and had some car trouble. And we looked at the inside of the engine and fixed it for us, and then that's the kind of relationship that we had. We just would talk very openly with each other. You could tell that he had some edginess with him in terms of the sense of humor, and but he had so. But what could I say? He just was a strong believer in God. He had alcoholism for a while, and he went in and did something about it. And he went to AA, a 12-step program. He became a Christian all his life. And, we've had many spiritual discussions about the faith. And, he's always been a good kid. Never I can't remember ever any time where he was an aggressor in a fight, or he let alone breaking the law. He could be shy at times, but he could also show his emotions too, and sometimes they were strong, but never violent. Never seen him be violent, and we would just play catch with him, or he was a swimmer, and sometimes and we would go hiking with his parents, and he and Melissa would sometimes come with. We'd go out into Jackson Hole. There was a place where you could saw your own Christmas tree, and we would do that with the family at Christmas time. But he was a kid who sometimes would get too emotional, but not in a violent way. And smart and spiritually interested and active. So I think he was receptive when he went to AA, and they emphasized bringing God into the alcoholism, and he really went to there, and his life changed in terms of from the alcoholism. and it just brought out the goodness in it. Let's see. I think so. Yeah, I think he had. I think he had some ADHD, but I've never done an official assessment of him for either bipolar or ADHD or anything like that. But I wasn't surprised when he was diagnosed with bipolar, and I think he was diagnosed with ADHD too. He could get down at times, and he could be very talkative, sometimes even with pressured speech. Racing thoughts, flight of ideas. He loved to talk about ideas. Sometimes he could take it too far. He seemed to get manicky sometimes, as well as depressed sometimes. And so there probably were some manic episodes as well as depressive episodes in his, even as a child. But it didn't get full blown until he was older, as a teenager or as a young adult. We were heartbroken, cried that we heard about Zeke too, as well as Callie and the baby. He adored Zeke, and what we've seen videos of him holding Zeke in his lap, and just looking at him with just pure adoration. And we went and bought him a mobile for his crib when he was a baby, Zeke, that is. And, Jeremy said he loved it, and we just felt, like you would with close friends passing away, and to think that Jeremy Tippett was heartbreaking, but I knew that it wasn't Jeremy. That I knew that it was his bipolar disorder, and as we found out later, some other drugs that he had taken. When I heard of what happened, I called up my son and daughter both knew Jeremy well too, and my son was asking me if I was thinking of calling when they hadn't found him yet and didn't know where he was. And I said, yes, I had been thinking of calling him, and I'm thinking of it. And he said, I think it would be a good idea. My son is a good person. He's been a missionary for 30 years, something like that, in China and Japan. And he's had spiritual talks with my son too. and so yeah, so then I did call him, and when I called him, I think it said that there were no much, or no, there wasn't enough space on his voicemail, but I found another number and I called it, because we had a couple numbers for him, maybe even 3, something like that. And I called him on the other lines and left a message and told him that I hoped he would realize that God loves him, and that it would be helpful for him and Zeke if he could call up a pastor and that the pastor could go with him to a hospital out there, and that they could give him an evaluation. So that message was left on 2 out of the 3 phones, and almost get protection for himself and for others, that he could get evaluated and be committed, and given medication. But I believe he never got the message. We were trying to help him and help him get the right kind of treatment now, not just being treated as a criminal, but more and realistically treated as a severe, as a person with severe mental disorder. And we saw him on videos. He, after he was in the jail, there was quite a difference between after he got medication and the way he was before that. And before that, when he was just caught, the medication seemed to really do him justice, and it broke the true Jeremy. And it just shows that even though medicine isn't that great, it is improving. And medicine will still be improving when he's in prison. And hopefully he will be treated as a patient, not just as a criminal. Because I don't consider him doing this as a criminal, doing it as a person with severe mania and bipolar. He needs to get into therapy and even long-term therapy. What I would really hope happens is that Jeremy, with getting some help from prison ministries, and whether they're inside the prison or outside the prison, can really help him. And not just help him, but help him to be able to help others. And there could be a really blessed future for him while he's in prison, that he could be an agent of blessing for other prisoners, and just for his for legacy of his life.
Jeremy played sports as a child. He began swimming in junior high school and stayed on the team until his junior year. And his parents found that the structure of early morning swim practices and the active swim meet schedule helped him organize himself with his ADHD. The family had a deep love of the Jackson Hole area, and both parents began volunteering and eventually working at the parks in the area. And the family made many trips to Wyoming and eventually moved here permanently. In 1988, when Jeremy was 13, he was attacked by a number of other boys, which resulted in him having to spend the night in the hospital for tests and observation. He graduated from St. Charles, Illinois High School on June 6th of 1993. During his high school years, he began to experiment with substances, including alcohol, pot, and other drugs. He did have a bit of a juvenile record in which he spent the night in jail for possession of a controlled substance. And immediately after graduation, he packed his belongings and moved to Jackson Hole, where he took up residence in his parents' condo and began to look for work. He made attempts to complete auto mechanic programs, both at Wyotech and Central Wyoming College, but did not complete the programs. His work history is extensive. He began working in 1981 and eventually formed Jeremy's Auto Repair. Throughout the years, he held multiple jobs, beginning with his work history in 1981 in Illinois, and was self-employed for many years in both Wyoming and Idaho through 2022. And there was also 2023 earnings, which were not reported through the Social Security Administration records. However, if you graph his work history through the years, you can see that he had periods of very high employment and also low employment, and that the years from 2015 through 2023 were not very productive for him. In late December and early January of 2003 and 2004, he attended treatment, drug and alcohol treatment at the Walker Center in Gooding, Idaho. And there he was diagnosed for the first time with bipolar disorder type 1 manic. In addition, alcohol dependence, cannabis dependence, hallucinogen dependence, which is in remission, and polysubstance dependence. His parents loved coming to the Victor area to help him with his business. They helped him purchase his property, and weekly they helped him with ordering supplies and doing the books. When Jeremy left the Walker Center, he became very involved in the local AA group and stayed very involved until approximately 2010. Jeremy met Callie in 2010, although the dates differ depending on who you speak with. Callie was determined to have a relationship with Jeremy, and he also with her. They moved in together and spent time snowboarding, dirt biking, and working in the shop. In the home, Callie would leave little notes for Jeremy all over, and this is a little one from the refrigerator which says, "You are smart, caring, and talented. Your stories lighten a room. I'm so blessed to have you in my life. Kay." Jeremy experienced a number of physical injuries throughout the years, which, along with his auto mechanic duties, left him feeling very unsettled and painful physically. Jeremy and Callie did many things together. They lived and worked together at Jeremy's auto repair. Callie also made jewelry and was involved with the Beachbody franchise. And because the elder Bests had moved to Jackson Hole at the time, they spent a great deal of time together. And Callie continued to leave notes for Jeremy. This note here, I will read only a small portion of. "When I met you, I knew you were something special. I knew I had found all that my heart desired. I knew I was at home with you." In 2017, there was a fire at the Hayden and Henry Jones home, which was just a block or so behind Jeremy's home in Victor, Idaho. And a neighbor informed him that she thought the house was on fire, and he kicked the door in and helped to rescue the family from the home. Gregory Best passed away in 2019 in Illinois from a long illness. He suffered from Lewy body dementia, and the family tried to keep him in the Jackson Hole area, but there was not enough care for him there. And so it was very sad for Jeremy when his father had to move back to Illinois. Jeremy continued to seek medical care for a number of issues. The Teton Valley Healthcare medical records from 2020 describe chronic pain syndrome, hypertensive disorder, insomnia, and psychoactive substance use disorder. They discuss several previous surgeries and daily medications, to include cyclobenzaprine, losartan, meloxicam, Suboxone, and several other supplements. Another refrigerator note from Callie to Jeremy in 2020, which is difficult to read, but at the end it says, "I'm thankful for XOXO Callie." Jeremy continues to seek medical care for his physical pain and insomnia and other issues through 2022. Migraines are added to his issues, along with essential hypertension and chronic pain. In September of 2022, Callie and Jeremy married. Callie is pregnant with Zeke, and they are looking forward to his birth. Zeke is born prematurely, January 23rd, 2023. And after weeks in the NICU in Idaho Falls, he comes home to his family. And Callie leaves a note on the refrigerator that says, "You're awesome. Zeke and I love you very much, and we're so grateful for all your hard work. XOXOK." Callie and Jeremy have gone on Medicaid by this time because the medical costs of having Zeke prematurely are adding up. And another refrigerator note reads, "Reasons we love Jeremy: funny, takes care of us, great taste in music, badass snowboarder. As for you, you are one spectacular being. Your self-awareness, compassion, and grit are amazing. I am forever grateful for having you by my side. Much love, darling. XOXOK." In April of 2023, even though there was still a dust of snow, Zeke went on his first camping trip in Ginger, the van. Callie's note from the refrigerator indicates, "Who knew this is how our days would look? So excited for the adventures to come. Ginger is where our love sparked, and in Ginger our love will continue to grow." Medical records from local pharmacies indicate that Jeremy faithfully took medications, and the actual date of his determination to stop taking prescription medicine is unclear, but the last prescriptions were filled in July of 2023. Shortly thereafter, in August, Jeremy has an encounter at the Madison Memorial Hospital in which he believes he's having a heart attack, and Callie sends a text to Mary Toft indicating, "It's been a day. Jay thought he was having a heart attack. Took him to Driggs. He freaked out. Made me take him to Rexford. Ambulance ride from the Teton Dam to Madison Hospital. Then he walked out." Medical records from this encounter indicate that he refused to have treatment and swore all the way out of the door of the hospital. On their first anniversary, Callie wrote Jerry this refrigerator note. "Baby, happy anniversary. What a year it has been. Through it all, we grow a little each day. I look around on the daily in complete awe of this life. Never did I imagine I would be here now, a wife, a mother. I would have never been more proud of two things in my life. Your dedication to us shows me your true and deep loving heart. I am forever grateful for your love. The look in your eyes as we stood below the wedding tree, our hands warming each other, will be an image I keep for eternity. The warmth and compassion fuel me daily. I know you were special the second I met you, and you have never been anything less than that. Here is to many, many more years of love and adventure, baby. You make me better. Cal." Callie's pregnancy difficulties with Zeke are detailed in her Sela Midwifery Center medical records. She suffered from early rupture of membranes, and her midwife goals were transferred to the care of an MD. Callie became pregnant again, likely in June of 2023. And as she continued with her medical treatments and visits, it was determined that she suffered from a condition known as complete posterior placenta previa, which means that she was not able to use a midwife for the delivery and was transferred to the care of an OB in Jackson. Sometime in October, most likely around the 30th, as the family can determine, Jeremy made a visit to the home of Scott and Sandra Null and spoke with their sons, Nehemiah and Meshach, about his concerns that he was visited by someone who had threatened him and his family. Jeremy was concerned that the phones, shop, and valley were bugged. Jeremy described the visitor as someone he used to know and referred to him as a handler. Jeremy believed this person was from the government. Jeremy wanted the Nulls to know that he was concerned for his family and their safety. On 11/26 of 2023, Mary Toft, a friend and photographer, took a photo of Jeremy, Callie, and Zeke, which was to be used for their Christmas card. On 11/28 at 3:47 p.m., Jeremy made a phone call to Carlin Bilger, who was the pastor who married he and Callie. They had not had much contact since then, and so this message was unexpected. At 5 a.m. on 11/30/2023, Jeremy's massage therapist, David Hay, received a text message from Jeremy asking him to send the Mormon missionaries to his home. At 8:06 on 11/29,
Give me sidebar.
I invite this one just in chambers, just outside the door. Mary, did you set up back here for the record? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to take up some business on the record out of the public's view, and we'll return in just a moment. So, ladies and gentlemen, the court was able to put everything that I deemed necessary on the record. So I accomplished that as part of my responsibility. In terms of just the contents of the conversation, I would just share that the parties were working through an issue related to the presentation, and we have a direction from the court on how the defense will proceed, and I'll now invite you to do that.
What's up? So what's his van and gas pumps? Oh, okay. He's in between the register when I got here. He's completely naked. I got an ambulance coming over. He's been up for 2 or 3 days. Had to get meth use. His name's Mr. Randall. Carrie, right? You don't know? Carrie Randall? You know what date it is? Just having a bad day. Kind of bad. It's a bad week. Hasn't been quick for ambulance come in. I have asked him. I just wanted that, so. Anything else besides meth use? Any kind of medical history? I got to bring it up? I've got That's okay. What else do you have? You take medications? Okay. What made you treat to this? That's what I'm trying to figure out. You haven't been violent with nobody, and I appreciate that. Okay? But running through the store naked is not.
I literally remember like having Thanksgiving dinner.
Okay?
And then it's insane. And then I went to go, I don't know, man.
You just don't know. Okay.
Where do you live, Carrie? You know where you come from, where you're...
I come,
Teton Valley's where you told me you were living a little bit ago.
All right, we'll get it figured out, okay? We'll get it figured out. Relax. It's all good, man. It's all good. Do you know what day it is? Okay. We'll get it figured out.
He's got gas. Ryan's working on the van part.
Yeah. We'll take care of your van. We'll make sure that's all good, okay?
See you at the Charlotte's too.
Yeah, I'll talk. Thanks, man. I'm here for lunch. What's up?
He's outside.
A little excitement, huh?
A little bit.
Yeah, he's outside. Anything damage?
Just had a couple jars of sauce, but I had him back here in the back, keeping him out of the public, sitting upstairs, and he started going off about doing on a binge of drugs, and then he wanted alcohol, and I tried to calm him down, and then he freaked.
Anything you guys want to press charges on? Okay.
Just get him some help.
Yeah.
More.
Got the ambulance here, so we'll get her on there. Get him on. Thanks. No charges.
you good to slip out of this situation?
Slip, buddy. No charges.
No charge?
No.
Okay. I'm gonna let that with.
Oh, up front, yeah. Grab his iPad in front.
What's going on today?
There you go, man.
Thank you. No pressure come on you, Bob. Do you know where you are right now?
Ambulance?
Okay. What town are you in?
Sun Valley?
Okay. You know what year it is? Okay. Sounds good.
I was literally having Thanksgiving dinner.
Okay. Can I get a temperature here, boss?
You old school guys up here, huh? Good to see you.
Wow, it's good to be here. Let's do it formally too, just kids and deals. Any drug or alcohol? You don't know?
Been doing drugs.
Okay. So it's probably reasonable that you got some drugs in you?
Yeah.
But you don't know when the last time you did anything was? Okay.
You don't want me to call her? I get it.
Yeah, the awesome. All right, what's your name? Not sure your name?
He said he got pretty calm for a bit and then lost his. If we had just let's come on. We got no charges on him, but yeah. Says he doesn't know where he came from, where he lives.
I was going to massage.
You're going to get a massage? Where?
Fairly close, there's a massage place right there.
There is actually.
Almost made it.
I think these plates are from Teton Valley. It's Carrie. Carrie, what's your last name? Now you told us. I'll give you just a second.
David, you know what your birthday is?
Got a wallet.
Well,
Says can't remember his name now.
yeah, we don't even know if this is right or not.
Got a picture. See anything in the car?
I can see. I got the keys. Sometimes I pulled it up. I got.
Says he's got a wife.
This is the shit they pulled. Some guy pulled it out of his van. Somebody searched the van and found mail.
Oh, it is Kelly Randall.
I wonder if that's who the van's registered to. I wonder if that's the wife. I see Jeremy Randall.
The address up there?
Up on Fox Street.
Are you Callie? Or is your wife Callie?
Wife.
Wife's Callie. Callie Randall. What's your first name?
Jeremy.
Jeremy. Okay.
That's what he's next.
Jeremy Best, right?
Jeremy Randall or Jeremy Best?
It was like, okay, yeah, I can see that for a while.
Well, we're gonna have to move it or tow it.
We're not having charges. That's my question.
Yeah, we're not towing it just yet. Just whatever you can see.
I'm searching, can I look for a wallet?
You have to look in the window. Since we kind of have an ID on him. Let me think about it.
We're just trying to figure out what's going on, because you're obviously having some issues, because you can't remember a whole lot of stuff. Not sure what's going on. And you strip down in the store. That's not normal. So if we can, kind of at this point, we've got a couple options. We can take you into the emergency room. We can even take you up to Drake's if you want. Or we can try and get a hold of your wife and see if she can come get you.
Sure. I think he needs to go in for a mental eval. What do you think, man? Get some help.
I think it's probably a good idea,
At least somebody to talk to.
one way or another. You don't like that idea?
I went to go get EMR, and that's kind of like where this whole thing started.
What's EDMR?
Some kind of therapy, like a whole house.
I don't even know what that is.
And so, you know, I had it to the doctor,
So, were you on your way there today? Or on your way home? Something? Okay.
Dude, you're lost. We need to get you some help. If you go with these guys, you'll be able to see an evaluator, and that's that. If we end up having to take you, we'll put you on the hold for 4088, and you have no say. I would highly recommend you go with these guys and get evaluated. somebody to come get your van. Would you okay with your wife getting your van? That way we don't have to tow it. That way it doesn't charge you any money. Let's do that. So we don't tow it, okay? I know it's a lot. It's a lot of info. Let's get you in the bed. Just lay down for a minute. It might make you feel better.
Look over this way, Jeremy.
Right. We need to get a hold of that wife. See if she's back and find something first. Yeah. That's why I'm trying to get him strapped in that bed right now. Because he's so, like, right now, he's like, oh, yeah, what happened? Then he's like, then he gets kind of, like, tensed up. I'm like, we need to strap him in that bed.
Did you have somebody ride with him?
No, I don't think so.
It's fine. So what do we have, PC for,
Well, they technically do. If they take him, you won't need it.
yeah,
They're having a hard time getting them.
like I said, pair of socks, jumper cables, and a battery, that's all it's in there.
It starts. I can't believe he made it here safely.
Our one year, we took your pants off and took your shirt off, it's about to make it, we're still wearing socks.
Walking into the store.
Took off into the store.
Yeah, park the van, and we'll find the wife and see if we can get her to come get it.
Got the keys.
Yes,
I did.
one recently. Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah.
All right.
We're gonna move your van into a parking spot. We're gonna try to get a hold of your wife, and we're gonna have somebody behind you guys.
Okay. Can you take me home? I can't take you home.
We're gonna get an email first.
Yep.
You need to be looked at, bud.
Fair enough. Okay. Did you guys find shoes or anything?
No shoes. We do have
He
socks.
said he only had pants and a shirt on when he got out of the van.
All right.
It's Melanie Rayburn, and I live in Tucson, Arizona. Correct. 40-some years, 42 years. We got married at age 18. I've known him since I was since I was 5 years old. I was a boy next door, so we've been together a very long time. And we have one child and one granddaughter. I was working full-time in hospitality management, which is when I was in Victor. It was the Teton Springs Lodge and Spas sales manager. But right now, I got cancer, so I am not working now. I am just, other than I'm doing my artwork, I have my own art studio, and I'm showing paintings in Art Gallery for the last 3 years. And I also do a lot of, my art stuff is all the time, but I also 2 days a week do volunteer work at the hospital. I bring Holy Communion to the local hospital patients and to people who are homebound. We lived in Driggs beginning 2008 in a rental, and then we moved a year later into the house in 2009. My husband was a machinist, and he had his own machine shop in his garage. Jeremy lives very close to us. We could see his house from our porch. So we were basically neighbors, although not in the exact same neighborhood. And because Jeremy was auto repair, they would help each other out, do business together. And so Scott quickly became friends with him, more so than business. And then I later, was introduced to him by Scott, and we hung out together. So, very normal friendship, neighbors. Callie we would go to on hikes together, we'd do walks around our neighborhood together. Jeremy, he took me a wonderful day we had at the falls. We love to go to those falls down in Swan Valley. and we hiked all through right behind the mountain. Whoever thought that was a really awesome day. And we would hang out together in the evening, as couples do. They didn't like to go out very much. Jeremy was definitely a homebody, he preferred to stay home. My husband was too, so, but also my husband did a lot of dirt bike riding with him. I wouldn't say a lot, he went a couple times dirt bike riding with him as well. I don't know, for some reason I don't remember skiing with him, somehow we missed that part. It was about a month prior, Callie had called me, and we talked for a while. The reason she called me was because our mailbox on our road got knocked over, and she asked me if we wanted it because it had our name welded on it. So she picked it up, and she just wanted to let us know that we had it. And she was walking baby Zeke in the stroller, so we were talking, and yeah, she was concerned about. She talked to me about me with Jeremy having like anxiety, and ended up in the hospital. And she still didn't know what it was. He said he had moldy cheese, and it was just she's weird. I don't know why he's saying that. She also went on to tell me about her high-risk pregnancy with the eclampsia thing, and she wasn't going to be able to, how she was managing her whole birth was going to be different, and she was worried about that. And I think she also Jeremy she said Jeremy was worried about it, but it wasn't a really long conversation, but that was kind of the gist of it, just catching up with her on those big issues. But she said baby Zeke was one easy baby to take care of. He was just a joy to her. She said he's the easiest baby to ever have. Yeah. No, not at all. I've never had a conversation with either of them or even when we were in the presence, thought that they ever had a marriage problem. I'm sure they had she was opening up to me about some financial problems, or not the business problems that Jeremy was struggling with because it's so hard to fix cars nowadays with all the computers, equipment that you need, and his back was always hurting, those types of things, but it was never something that they were arguing about together. They were trying to work things out together, like those normal daily things, but never a marriage problem. Yes, we both did. So, my husband was at work, and he got a phone call from Jeremy. He couldn't answer it at the time because he was working, but as soon as he could, I think it was around 9 in the morning or something, I don't know exactly, but then he picked up the phone and listened to his message, and he said Jeremy's voice sounded like he was distressed or distraught, so otherwise he wouldn't have called back right away. He would have just waited to the end of the day to call him. But because of that, he called right away, and he said that he said some strange things like, Scott, I need you to throw me a lifeline. I'm like having trouble here. And he talked about something about a knife that he gave to Scott Knoll. He was getting engraved. He's talked about I don't know, hill people, I think, or something like that. Since I wasn't in the conversation, I don't know exactly, but that's what I remember. The gist of it, it was long enough that, he said, well, where's Callie? And he said, oh, she's here, and he handed her the phone. So he said, talk to my wife, handed her the phone. And so Callie, then it was just Scott and Callie talking, and she was very concerned about his well-being. Mentally, she said he hasn't slept in forever, and she can't get him to sleep, and he was saying crazy things like that he was Jesus, and she was, Scott was trying to help her figure out what was wrong, and they didn't have a really long conversation because I don't know how long it was, but then all of a sudden she said, I gotta go, John Lord is here. And then, Scott was like, oh good, John's there, go talk to him. And Scott said, I'll talk to you, I have to go now, but I'll talk to you at the end of the day, I'll call you when I'm done work. So then, he was texting with Callie throughout the day. The first text was that he somehow left in the car and took off. She didn't know where he was going. She was going to go try and look for him. And so that was one text. And then Scott was, I think, just keep in touch with me or whatever. These texts were going on during the day. I think the next text that I remember was that she said, "Oh, we found him. He's the police called and said they have him at Swan Valley." And that was all she said. And then it was the end of the day, and Scott called them, and I can't remember if Scott called them. And I think he called up the message and didn't get a hold of him. I think at that point she was probably going to pick him up, driving there already in the hospital or driving back. But by the time Scott got about an hour later, I think when he was actually home, Jeremy called him. And Jeremy said, "I'm okay. I'm home. They let me go." And Scott was like, "Why did they let you go?" He said because he had clarity. He was showing me clarity every now and then. That was what he said. And then I came into the room, and so I joined the conversation, and it was kind of like the four of us were talking. They were on speakerphone, so I could hear Callie sounded like she was making dinner, and the baby was fussing a little bit, but you could tell she was like holding the baby, walking, trying to do stuff in the kitchen while she was, talking to us. And we had mostly a normal conversation, although Jeremy seemed more intense than he usually is, and he's already more intense, but he seemed a little intense. So that's like, maybe a little confused, I don't know, but mostly intense. And I also heard in Callie's voice that she seemed either just completely exhausted or her voice sounded a little shaky. But in my mind, I thought to myself, my God, she's had a horrible day. She must feel terrible. And I even remember, we were talking a little bit, and I was kind of like thinking in her shoes that she doesn't need to be talking to us right now. She needs to relax and try and get Jeremy feeling well and the whole family. So I kind of like said to Scott, maybe we should hang up and let her be and not feel like she has to carry a conversation on with us. And the end of the conversation, so that was when Scott, he kind of said, okay, well, he made it kind of wrapped up the conversation, which was probably a total of maybe 25, 35 minutes. And he said, Jeremy said something about how he loved the baby, and Scott said he sounded like he was crying a little bit. I really couldn't tell. He was closer to the phone. And the last thing we said to each other was that we love you, and of course the whole time we kept telling them, you guys need to get out of Teton Valley for a while. If you think it's depressing there, come down, please come down, all of you, or Callie, the baby can fly down, or whatever. But that conversation was constantly said, mentioned every time we talked to them, but especially that day, including when Scott talked to Callie in the morning. He was adamant about that with her. Please know you can come down here. It was about 5:30. My understanding that maybe Dr. Jim was the next one who came over right after that, but I don't know for sure. Yes, very much dear friends of ours. They live right next to us. Well, we did keep it for like 2 years, but we did not live there. We were renting it out to a friend of ours. Yeah, for the most part, yeah. After talking to them and the first we found out about, Henry texted us the very next morning, early in the morning, and he said our house burned down. And then we later were able to talk to him, but also our neighbor, our friend who was renting our they rent, they don't live there permanently, it's a summer home, but he happened to be there, they live in Utah. And then, also, we talked to Kelly and Jeremy about it, and they're the ones who told us what happened and how Jeremy, got the call. Apparently what happened was, their next door neighbor woke up in the middle of the night because they left their sprinkler and they went out to turn their sprinkler. This is Jeremy's next door neighbor. They went out to turn the sprinkler off and they saw the flames. So they immediately went over to Jeremy because I think they knew Jeremy. They thought, the neighbor thought it was our house and they knew that Jeremy was close to friends with us. So she said, go, I think Melanie Scott's house was on fire. So he immediately ran, got in his car, and drove as fast as he could there. And obviously it was Henry and Hayden's house, and nobody was out, so he knocked on the door. He tried to, he was hollering for them, and no staff, they didn't say anything, so then he broke the door down, and he was able, because Henry was at the time kind of wandering around, and like maybe the smoke was kind of getting to him already, and the boys were in bed still, and he went and got the kids out of the bed. And Hayden, I think, was kind of right behind them. They literally got out with nothing except for their pajamas. That's how quickly the whole house burned down and how serious it was that they got out so quickly. Because, being so dead asleep and that much smoke, they could have just, gone out without realizing that. Okay, please keep in mind that Jeremy was crying out for help the best way he could given his mental status. For many years, he reached out to his closest friends and doctors for advice on homeopathic and pharmaceutical options. But a few weeks before, and especially the day of, this cry for help was extremely intensified. We were included in the list of those people Jeremy and Callie reached out to in desperation that day. And like others, my husband and I have feelings of great regret and guilt for not taking it seriously enough to act on the cry for help. You just wonder if maybe we had called Callie back that night to check on her. Or local friends to go back and check on them. Just be more consistent. That they all should come down and visit us and get out of the valley for a while. When Callie had texted us that the police took him to Irma, we both gave a big sigh of relief and thank God because we assumed he would be held for 72 hours for evaluation. And I do believe that had Irma not released him, this tragedy would have been avoided, and Jeremy could have gotten the professional help he so desperately needed. Mental health is much more serious than a deadly disease, and it can kill more people than just the one who is sick. And I'm sure that our next staff feel terribly bad that they did not do their job, and they should be held accountable to some extent so others will not make the same mistake. And I'd like the court to take into consideration also that knowing how much Callie loved Jeremy, I believe that she has forgiven him due to his mental illness not being properly managed. And I feel confident that she would want his broken mind and soul to be at peace the best way possible. for his remaining time on this earth. Jeremy, from the deepest part of my heart and soul, I ache for the tragic loss of Callie, Zeke, and your unborn baby, and the potential wonderful memories you all would have created together with your family and friends. I know that had you been in your right mind, this would have never happened. The last thing you said to us that evening was how much you loved your son, and we all loved each other. Please take solace in the fact that Callie, Zeke, and Craig are in God's kingdom of heaven, and I'm sure they are watching over you with love and mercy. I believe that your goal now is to be an example of what can happen due to untreated mental illness. Share your story so it may help others with similar struggles. I believe that your other goal is to live the rest of your life with humility before God, asking forgiveness not only from others, but also of yourself. Please do everything you can to ensure that you will one day join your family in eternity. Focus on your faith and don't do anything that could jeopardize this end goal. Please take your medication and walk daily with God's inexhaustible love and mercy that you deserve. Please also keep your heart open to all of God's graces that may come upon you in many different forms and for various reasons that only time and God will reveal to all of us why this tragedy happened. So take life one day at a time. I will continue to write to you and share your story with others to prevent potential similar tragedies surrounding mental illness. And most importantly, keep you, Callie, and your two babies always in my prayers and close to our hearts.
Mr. Archibald, now would probably be a good time to take a morning break. And to the state, would you prefer to direct your cross-examination for there or here?
I think it'll be awkward, like, to.
Yeah, so ma'am, thank you. I think if you don't mind coming to the witness stand, that way you're accessible to the state. Much of what was done was narrative. I recognize that, and we were placed under oath in doing so. Thank you.
Briefly, ma'am, good morning. Good morning. Quick question, do I need a mic or can you hear me? Are we all right? I can hear you. I usually speak pretty loud too. Thank you. Ma'am, just a couple quick questions. You're a mitigation expert, correct, or specialist?
Yes.
And that means you look at everything and you know the entire case file?
To the best of my investigation.
Understood. And part of that job is to look at the complete history of whomever you're doing the background on.
Yes.
And in this case, that's Mr. Best.
Yes.
And so in putting that presentation together on Jeremy Best's life history, I noticed there were 3 or 4 notes from Callie about their relationship.
Yes.
I didn't notice anything from, any notes in that presentation from Jeremy. Is that correct?
Correct.
Now, let's just talk about another quick thing. There is a slide in there, we just saw the video, that says Melanie and Scott Rayberg interview. Remember that slide?
Yes.
There was no video in there from Scott Rayberg.
That's true.
But interviews were done of Scott Rayberg.
I have never interviewed Scott Rayberg.
Interviews were done both by law enforcement and your team. Law enforcement interviewed Scott Rayberg. I spoke to him on one occasion and he told me he did not wish to speak further.
Exactly, because Scott Rayberg didn't agree with his wife's statements, did he?
I don't know that.
Scott Rayberg, in fact, refused to cooperate with the defense in the production of that video.
He actually didn't know about it.
And so when it's labeled Melanie and Scott Rayberg, that's not accurate.
That's correct.
Now, turning towards one last issue, looking at the entire presentation of Jeremy Basley, I didn't see any assessment of his criminal history or contact with law enforcement. There wasn't any in there, was there?
No, other than the mention of the juvenile issue, the juvenile arrest.
And so a facet of looking at somebody in terms of their life history would be analyzing their contacts with law enforcement.
Yes.
Okay. And so in January of 2002, when Mr. Best was 27 years old, he was arrested for possession of a controlled substance.
Yes.
And again, in December of 2002, when he was 28, he was arrested for both DWI and drug-related offenses.
Yes.
And that was out of Wyoming.
Yes.
And then in June 28th of 2002, he was again arrested for under the influence of illegal substances and DWI.
Yes.
And then in 2019, August 27th of 2019, he was a suspect of an aggravated assault with a firearm for being accused of pointing a gun at his neighbor over a dispute of a dog.
I was accused of that, yes.
And law enforcement responded and took the complaint of the neighbor that she was accusing him of pointing a gun at her and her dog.
Yes, but he wasn't charged.
Right now. Thank you. Nothing further.
Mr. Archibald, any rebuttal?
No.
All right, then, thank you, ma'am. You may
You're welcome.
step down, and